Okay, so today we're diving into a topic that I think is really interesting. Um, Peer-to-peer cryptocurrency trading, also known as P2P.
P2P, yeah.
It's the concept of direct exchange, cutting out the middleman, connecting directly with another individual to buy or sell crypto is pretty compelling when you think about it, right? Like it kind of at the heart of that whole decentralization ethos that drives a lot of the interest in crypto in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. You're removing those traditional gatekeepers, the banks, the payment processors, and that can unlock a whole range of benefits for people, lower fees, more flexible payment options, and a greater degree of privacy.
Right. And we've seen platforms like Binance really embrace this P2P model. It's a big part of their ecosystem now, connecting buyers and sellers from all over the globe. And this is something we really want to unpack for you today. This directness, this kind of cutting out the middleman approach, also introduces its own set of unique challenges and potential risks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because with that freedom and flexibility also comes greater responsibility. You're relying more on your own vigilance, your own due diligence to ensure that the transaction is legitimate and that you're protected.
And that's exactly what we're here to do today. We're going to shine a light on the darker side, the less obvious risks and dangers that lurk within the world of P2P crypto trading.
Yeah.
We've got some great insights to share with you from an article by Dr. Puyan Gamari, who's done a lot of research in this area. And our mission, really, our goal for you listening today is to give you the knowledge and the tools to navigate this environment safely, to understand the potential pitfalls and to really make informed decisions. So when you think about the nature of P2P, right, person-to-person trading, what's like the biggest risk? What's the first thing that jumps out at you?
Well, I think the most immediate and probably the most pervasive risk is the increased potential for scams and fraud. We often talk about the trustless nature of cryptocurrency as a positive.
Right.
But in the context of P2P, that absence of a central authority, a trusted intermediary, can create vulnerabilities that scammers are all too eager to exploit.
Right. And Dr. Gamari really emphasizes that in his article. He talks about how the lack of that traditional oversight, those regulatory frameworks that we're used to in traditional finance, combined with the potential for anonymity that exists online, it can create a breeding ground for bad actors.
Precisely. It's kind of a double-edged sword. You have this freedom, this flexibility, but it also requires a heightened awareness, a heightened level of personal responsibility to ensure that you're not falling victim to someone who's trying to take advantage of the system.
Absolutely. And so let's dive into some specifics here, right? Let's talk about the tactics that these scammers are using in the P2P space.
Yeah.
What are some of the common things that people should be looking out for?
Well, one of the most prevalent tactics, and Dr. Gamari highlights this, is the fake payment confirmation. This is where a scammer will create a fabricated proof of payment, like a doctored screenshot or a fake email notification, to trick the seller into releasing the cryptocurrency before the funds have actually been received.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's like they're presenting this illusion of payment, but the money's never actually transferred.
Exactly. It preys on the seller's eagerness to complete the transaction and their trust that what they're seeing is genuine.
Right. It's a digital sleight of hand, essentially.
Yeah, I like that. It's very apt. It's about creating this illusion of legitimacy.
Are there other ways that these scammers try to kind of gain an edge, gain that trust so that they can pull off these scams?
Oh, absolutely. Another really concerning tactic is the use of stolen or fake identities. They might hack into a legitimate user's account that's already been verified on the platform.
Oh, wow.
Or they'll create a completely fake profile, but they'll go to great lengths to make it look convincing. They'll build up a history of positive reviews. They might even engage in some small, legitimate trades to build up that reputation.
So they're really playing the long game.
They are. They're trying to lull you into a false sense of security, make you think that you're dealing with someone who's trustworthy and established within the community.
Wow. That's a really scary thought, right? It's not just about the anonymity of the internet anymore. It's about this, like you said, this manufactured trust that can be really difficult to see through.
Yeah, and it can make these scams even more devastating because you're not just losing money, you're losing that sense of trust, which can be hard to rebuild.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Gamari also talks about this thing called the overpayment scam.
Yeah.
What is that all about? Because it sounds kind of counterintuitive, right? Like, why would someone overpay?
Right. Well, it's actually a very clever form of manipulation.
Yeah.
What happens is the scammer intentionally sends more than the agreed upon amount for the cryptocurrency. And then they'll immediately contact the seller, acting all flustered and apologetic, saying, "Oh," or seeing that larger sum in their account, might be inclined to quickly process that refund without really thinking it through.
Right, they're trying to be helpful.
Exactly. But here's the catch. Once the seller has sent back that overpayment, the scammer then goes and reverses the original larger payment.
Oh, wow.
So the seller is left having sent back real money, but they never actually received the correct payment in the first place.
That's really devious. So for our listeners out there who are maybe thinking about dipping their toes into the world of P2P trading, what are some of the absolute must-dos to protect themselves from these scams? Like, what are the essential steps they need to take?
Well, the most important thing, and Dr. Gamari really hammers this home, is to always verify that you have actually received the payment in your account before you release any cryptocurrency.
Don't just trust a screenshot or a notification.
Precisely. Don't rely on anything other than your own bank or payment processor's confirmation that the funds have cleared. And this is especially crucial when you're dealing with new or unverified users.
Right, okay.
Another really important safeguard is to take advantage of the escrow services that many reputable P2P platforms offer, including Binance.
Okay, so remind us what escrow is exactly.
Sure, so escrow acts as a neutral third party that holds the cryptocurrency until both the buyer and the seller have confirmed that the terms of the transaction have been met. So the buyer sends their payment to the escrow service, the seller sees that the payment is secure, and then they release the crypto. It adds a layer of security for both parties involved.
Got it. So it's kind of like a safety net in case something goes wrong.
Exactly. And finally, be really, really careful about anyone who tries to pressure you into rushing a transaction. Anyone who's being overly pushy or seems excessively eager.
Right. Like, come on, hurry up, hurry up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That sense of urgency, that can be a red flag that something might be amiss.
Good advice. So skepticism, patience, verification, those are the key takeaways here.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned payment fraud as a separate category of risk, distinct from the scams we just talked about. Can you explain how that's different?
Yeah, so payment fraud specifically targets the payment system itself. It's not so much about tricking the seller with fake confirmations. It's about manipulating the actual transfer of funds in a way that benefits the scammer.
Okay, I see. So what are some of the ways that this manipulation can happen?
Well, a buyer might provide incorrect or incomplete payment details, hoping to cause a delay or a failure in the transaction that they can exploit. They might use stolen credit card information or bank account numbers.
Oh, wow. So you're essentially getting caught up in someone else's fraud.
Exactly. And once they receive the crypto, the legitimate owner of those funds is likely to initiate a chargeback,
Right?
and the seller is left empty-handed. They've lost their crypto, and they haven't received any real payment.
What a nightmare.
Yeah, it really is. And another tactic is to dispute a legitimate payment after the crypto's been sent, claiming they never authorized it.
So for our listeners, what are some red flags that might signal payment fraud? What should they be watching out for?
Dr. Gamari suggests being extremely wary of any requests for unconventional or untraceable payment methods, like gift cards, for example,
Oh, right.
or money transfer services that don't offer buyer protection, or requests to send money to a private bank account that doesn't match the name on the P2P platform.
That seems like a big one.
Yeah, it is, because these methods often lack the security and the traceability of more traditional payment options. So if something goes wrong, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to recover your funds.
Right. So sticking to established traceable methods is key, like bank transfers or platforms with good buyer protection.
Exactly. And absolutely avoid conducting transactions outside of the P2P platform itself.
Right. If someone tries to lure you off the platform, that's a huge red flag.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because once you move outside that protected environment, you lose all of the safeguards and the recourse mechanisms that the platform provides.
Okay, so let's move on to another really concerning risk. Account takeovers and identity theft. We talked about identity theft as a scam tactic earlier, but this is about your own account being compromised, right?
Precisely. This is where a scammer gains unauthorized access to your P2P trading account.
Yeah.
And they can do this through various means. They might send phishing emails that look like they're from the platform, trying to trick you into revealing your login credentials.
Oh, yeah, those are really common.
Very common. And they're getting more and more sophisticated. They might use social engineering tactics, manipulating you into giving up sensitive information.
Wow.
Or they might exploit weaknesses in your own digital security practices, like using weak passwords or not having two-factor authentication enabled.
So it's like someone hijacking your financial identity. What are the kinds of things they can do once they have control of your account?
Well, the damage can be extensive. They might change your account details, like your email address or your withdrawal information.
Oh, God.
They might intercept any ongoing trades that you have, diverting the funds to themselves.
Oh, wow.
And in some cases, they might even use your account to defraud other users on the platform, potentially damaging your reputation in the process.
So it's not just about the immediate financial loss, it's about the broader impact on your online identity and your standing within the community.
Precisely. It can be really difficult to undo that damage once it's been done.
So what can people do to protect themselves, to make their accounts as secure as possible?
Well, first and foremost, strong, unique passwords for every online account, especially your cryptocurrency exchange accounts. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Enable two-factor authentication, 2FA, on every platform that offers it.
That's like having a double lock on your door.
Exactly. It makes it exponentially harder for someone to gain unauthorized access, even if they manage to get your password.
Right. Okay, and what about those phishing attempts?
Be hypervigilant. Never ever click on links in unsolicited emails or messages, especially if they're asking you to log into your account or provide personal information. If you're ever unsure, go directly to the platform's website or contact their customer support to verify the legitimacy of any communication.
Good advice. And in terms of ongoing security, what should people be doing?
It's a good idea to regularly review your account activity for any signs of unauthorized access. Look for any transactions you don't recognize, any changes to your account settings, or any unusual login attempts. If you notice anything suspicious, report it to the platform immediately.
Okay, so vigilance is key. Strong passwords, two-factor authentication, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about a risk that's inherent to the world of cryptocurrency in general.
Yeah.
Volatility. We all know that crypto prices can go up and down dramatically. How does that play into the P2P trading landscape?
Well, it can create opportunities for manipulation, especially in the peer-to-peer environment. Dr. Kamari talks about how large traders, often called whales, who hold significant amounts of a particular cryptocurrency, might attempt to artificially influence its price on a specific P2P platform.
Okay, how would they do that?
Well, they might spread misinformation or rumors to create a sense of fear or excitement around a certain coin, or they might use automated trading bots to create a flurry of buying or selling activity, making it look like there's a surge in demand or panic selling.
So they're essentially creating these artificial waves in the market that they can then ride to their advantage.
Exactly. And it can be very difficult for individual traders to discern what's genuine organic market movement and what's being manipulated.
And then there's the infamous pump and dump scheme. Is that something that happens in the P2P world as well?
Absolutely. And it can be even more prevalent in a peer-to-peer setting where there's less oversight and more potential for spreading hype and misinformation.
So how does that work? Remind us.
Well, a group of individuals will coordinate to buy a large amount of a particular cryptocurrency, often a lesser-known one, with a low market cap, driving the price up rapidly. This is the pump phase. They'll then start spreading hype on social media and online forums, enticing unsuspecting investors to jump in, creating further upward pressure.
Oh, right. Fear of missing out.
Exactly. Once the price reaches a peak, the original manipulators sell off their holdings all at once, causing the price to crash dramatically. This is the dump. And anyone who bought in late is left holding the bag, so to speak, having bought at an inflated price that's now plummeted.
Ouch. So in this volatile environment, how can listeners protect themselves from being caught up in these price manipulation schemes?
Dr. Gamari really stresses the importance of independent research. Don't rely solely on what you see on social media or in online forums. Do your own due diligence, look at the fundamentals of the cryptocurrency, understand its use case, and get a sense of its true market value.
Don't just follow the hype train blindly.
Precisely. And be wary of any deals that seem too good to be true or any price discrepancies that are significantly out of line with what you're seeing on other reputable exchanges. If something feels off, trust your gut. It's better to be cautious than to lose your money.
Really good advice. Okay, let's talk about disputes and escrow. These are the mechanisms that are supposed to protect us in these kinds of transactions, right?
In theory, yes. Escrow systems, as we mentioned earlier, are designed to provide that layer of security. ensuring that the cryptocurrency is held safely until both parties have fulfilled their end of the bargain.
Right.
But as with any system, there's always the potential for things to go wrong, for disagreements to arise, for misunderstandings to occur. And sadly, there are also individuals who might try to game the system to their advantage.
How might that happen? How could a scammer try to exploit the dispute process?
Well, imagine a scenario where a buyer receives the cryptocurrency, but then falsely claims that they never got it, initiating a dispute. They might hope to exploit any delays or complexities in the platform's resolution process.
Oh, wow. So they're trying to wear down the seller, essentially.
Exactly. And while most reputable platforms have robust procedures in place to prevent this kind of fraudulent activity, it can be a stressful and time-consuming ordeal for the seller to have to prove that they did indeed fulfill their obligation.
Right. It's like innocent until proven guilty, but in reverse.
In a sense, yes. And while it's much less common, there's also the potential for someone to try to manipulate the escrow mechanism itself. Though, to be clear, reputable platforms like Binance invest heavily in security to make these kinds of attacks extremely difficult.
So even with these safety nets in place, there's still a degree of risk involved.
Absolutely. And it's why it's so important to be proactive, to take steps to minimize the potential for disputes and to protect yourself as much as possible.
So what are some of those steps? What can listeners do to make sure they're covered?
Well, first and foremost, clear communication is paramount. Make sure you and the other party have a clear understanding of the terms of the trade before you initiate anything.
Right. Don't leave anything to chance.
Exactly. Outline the payment method, the amount, the time frame, any specific conditions, and then keep a detailed record of all communication, transaction details, any receipts or confirmations.
So if a dispute does arise, you have a paper trail to back you up.
Precisely. And of course, always use the platform's official escrow service. Don't ever agree to conduct the transaction outside of the platform's protected environment.
Right. Because then you're on your own.
Exactly. And finally, never ever release your cryptocurrency until you have absolutely confirmed that the payment has been received in full and that it is cleared.
Patience and verification. Those are the watchwords here.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's broaden the conversation a bit. We've talked a lot about specific risks within the P2P environment, but what about the larger issue of regulation or the lack thereof in the cryptocurrency world? How does that impact those engaging in P2P trading?
It's a crucial consideration. And Dr. Gamari really highlights this in his article, because unlike traditional financial institutions, many cryptocurrency platforms, including those offering P2P trading, operate in a regulatory landscape that's still evolving.
It's like the Wild West out there.
In many ways, yes.
Yeah.
And this can create a higher degree of risk for users because they don't necessarily have the same level of legal protection or recourse that they would in a more regulated environment.
So if you fall victim to a scam or fraud, your options might be more limited.
Potentially, yes. Dispute resolutions might be less clear-cut, and those engaging in illegal activities might face fewer deterrents.
Right. So given that, how can people mitigate this risk? I mean, we can't control the regulatory landscape, right?
No, but you can control which platforms you choose to use. Dr. Gamari advises prioritizing reputable platforms with a proven track record. Look for platforms that have a history of addressing user complaints effectively, that have strong security protocols in place, and that are transparent about their operations.
So do your research, check their reputation, read reviews.
Exactly. And always read the platform's terms and conditions carefully. Make sure you understand the rules of the game, the risks involved, and the platform's policies on disputes and resolutions.
Don't just click agree without reading the fine print.
Definitely not. Knowledge is power in this environment. The more informed you are, the better equipped you'll be to protect yourself.
Absolutely. Now, there's one final risk that we need to talk about, and it might seem obvious, but it's often a contributing factor in many of these incidents: human error.
Right. We can talk all day about scams and fraud and manipulation, but sometimes the simplest mistakes can lead to the biggest losses.
So how does this play out in the P2P world?
Well, Dr. Gamari points out that novice traders, and even experienced ones at times, can make critical errors simply because they don't fully understand the process or they overlook important details.
Like what?
They might fail to verify payments properly, they might misunderstand how the escrow system works, or they might rush through a transaction without carefully reviewing the terms. And even small errors, like entering the wrong wallet address or sending the wrong amount of crypto, can have significant consequences.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement or the pressure of a trade and make a careless mistake.
Absolutely. And in the world of cryptocurrency, those mistakes can be very costly and often irreversible.
So how can we minimize these human errors?
Education, education, education. Dr. Gamari stresses the importance of taking the time to thoroughly learn how P2P trading works on the specific platform you're using.
Okay, so understand the platform's procedures, the risks involved.
Exactly. Familiarize yourself with the different payment methods, their security features, their potential vulnerabilities. Practice good digital security habits. Don't rush into any trades. And always double, even triple, check every single detail before you confirm anything.
So it's like that old adage, measure twice, cut once. But in this case, it's verify twice, transact once.
I like that. It's a great way to put it.
So I think the takeaway message here, and it's been a really enlightening conversation, is that while P2P trading offers some real advantages, lower fees, greater privacy, more flexibility, it also comes with a significant set of risks that you need to be very aware of.
Exactly. And the key to navigating this landscape successfully is to be informed, to be vigilant, and to be proactive in protecting yourself.
Right. And we've talked about some key protective measures, using reputable platforms, always verifying payments before releasing any crypto, employing strong security practices, being cautious about interacting with unfamiliar individuals, and really understanding the terms of every transaction.
And I think adding to that, it's crucial to have that mindset of continuous learning. The cryptocurrency world is constantly evolving. New technologies are emerging. New scams are being devised. So staying informed and adapting your security practices accordingly is essential.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. You need to stay engaged and educated.
Ex-
So here's a thought for our listeners to chew on. Given the decentralized nature of P2P trading and the fact that these scams are constantly evolving, what role do you think individual users have in making this a safer environment? And are there maybe some community-driven solutions that could emerge to provide even greater levels of protection? It's something to think about as you explore the world of P2P cryptocurrency trading. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure. It's a great discussion.